Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Yusuf Aram. There's an old saying that fits well with what the Turkish defense industry has faced. Necessity is the mother of invention. For decades, Turkey relied almost entirely on imports to equip its armed forces. But that channel was disrupted starting in the 1970s with embargoes and sanctions. The risk of being cut off from crucial hardware forced the Turkish government to search for solutions closer to home. And after decades of R&D, those investments are starting to pay off, especially when it comes to air power. Engin Savcın reports.
It's a first in aviation history, a combat drone successfully taking off and landing on a short runway carrier. The TB3 combat drone and TCG Anadolu assault ship are the crown jewels of Turkey's drive to bolster its homegrown military hardware. Once reliant on foreign suppliers, Turkey has become a major defense exporter, earning $5.5 billion in 2023 and $3.7 billion already achieved this year. This transformation began 50 years ago. After Turkey's 1974 intervention in Cyprus to protect Turkish Cypriots following an Athens-backed coup, the US responded with an arms embargo, igniting Ankara's drive for self-reliance. State and private companies began producing everything from armored vehicles to combat drones. The Bayraktar TB2 has gained global notoriety after proving its efficiency in conflicts across Libya, Karabakh, and Ukraine.
Turkey now commands 65% of the global UAV market. With shifting geopolitics and a dynamic ecosystem, global demand for Turkish products is only growing.
But despite these advancements, Turkey still relies on foreign hardware, particularly for air defenses and fighter jets. Turkey's acquisition of Russia's S-400 systems led to its removal from the US F-35 program. This prompted Ankara to double down on developing indigenous alternatives. Turkish Defense Minister Yaşar Güler recently hinted that the US might reconsider its re-entry into the F-35 program after observing progress on the Kaan, an indigenous fifth-generation fighter jet. He also revealed the scaling back of an F-16 deal with the US, and that other options were being explored. Last year, Ankara began talks to acquire dozens of Eurofighter Typhoon jets. Germany, initially opposed to the sale, recently cleared a path for the deal to move forward. Domestically, the country is advancing its own air force with the supersonic Hürjet, which, along with the Kaan, had its first successful test flights this year. By cutting its dependency on foreign suppliers, Turkey has gained the freedom to shape its own foreign policy, charting a course independent of traditional power centers. As its defense industry expands, Turkey is no longer just a bystander of global security, it is becoming a key player. The question is, can these technological strides redefine its role in the world? Engin Savcın, Straight Talk.
For more, joining me now from Abu Dhabi is Suha Cubukcuoglu. He's a senior fellow at Trends Research. From Kuala Lumpur, Phar Kim Beng, the CEO of Strategic Pan-Indo-China Arena. And from Islamabad, Hamzah Rifaat, senior expert at Initiate Futures. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me now. We're going to talk about Turkish air power, a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Always loved paper airplanes, and now we're loving these shiny new toys. Suha, I want to begin with you, and I want to begin with the most recent event, the TB3, a new generation of Turkish drones landing on the TCG Anadolu, Turkey's amphibious assault ship. Groundbreaking aviation history. What does that mean for aviation, and what does that mean for Turkey's capabilities?
So Bayraktar TB3 performed its first successful flight test to take off and land on TCG Anadolu this week, as you pointed out. And it means the Turkish defense industry has gone to another level, to the league of carrier-operated armed drones. There is a precedent for it. Like last year, General Atomics Mojave conducted a short takeoff and landing from the UK Royal Navy's HMS Wales, Prince of Wales aircraft carrier. But this is a groundbreaking achievement for Turkey because it gives Turkey the capability to expand its horizon of operation. If the Anadolu LPD, the landing helicopter dock, is to be equipped with Bayraktar TB3s, I mean, it will be, especially in regional flashpoints, this would be a first in the world. Let's not forget that in addition to Bayraktar TB3, there are Anka UAV models, and the Navy has also received Aksungur UAVs. And these platforms have an impressive array of sensors, long flight range, and anti-submarine warfare capabilities, thereby deeming them advantageous for the Eastern Mediterranean. It's a significant shift for Turkey in the naval balance in this region. And not only it broadens Turkey's horizons, as I mentioned, but it also showcases how a middle-class, middle-sized power like Turkey, regional significant power like Turkey, can now project force abroad and shape narratives in easy, straightforward, and cost-effective ways. And that's, I think, one of the main advantages of TB3 is that the value you get for the price you pay for such a platform is very, very high. So Turkey has now the upper hand in situational awareness and operational theater, even in this geographically crowded space of the Eastern Mediterranean.
Mm-hmm. Far, before we look at the next generation of the future of Turkish air power, I want to concentrate on what makes the backbone, at least of the drone inventory, and that's basically the TB2, the Ankas, and as Suha said, their price performance level pretty good. Seems like they're fairly well battle tested as well. How do you evaluate this mid-level Turkish drone inventory of TB2s, Ankas, even now the Akıncı as well, the Aksungur? How do you see them stack up against global competitors?
First of all, we have to understand that Turkey defense company or industry is one of the best ones, not just in the world, but also in the Muslim countries. And that's a critical factor because you have 57 Muslim states that form Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and Turkey is always at the forefront of such endeavors and activities. To the degree that Turkey can actually produce very sophisticated drones, they will be flagged as one of those major developments that the Muslim world can actually look into without being too reliant either on the East or on the West. I think that's actually a very critical factor when examined from the point of international relations.
Mm-hmm. Hamzah, I want to talk about the next generation of drones with you. We talked about the TB3 obviously landing on the TCG Anadolu. There's also the new Anka coming out. It kind of looks like the stealth bomber. It looks like the Batwing from Batman. How do you see that changing the Turkish drone inventory, and also these bigger heavy hitter drones like the Akıncı and Aksungur as they're getting more integrated into Turkish inventory?
Well, to answer that question, I think it's extremely important to understand that when we look at Turkish drone technology, we need to understand that this is the excelled version of fifth generation warfare. And we talk about fifth generation warfare, we're looking at stealth, we're looking at reconnaissance, we're looking at the ability to carry out precision strikes against existential threats in the Middle East, such as the PKK. And it actually lifts Turkey's prestige in the international community as well within the region as well. So if we look at Anka 3 and drone technology in general, there are a few very interesting statistics which actually point at the ability of Turkey to actually make sure that drone technology is on par with some of the best in the world. According to the Stockholm Institute of Peace Research, Turkey's ability to try and make sure that it could generate export revenue to create these drone technologies, which include stealth abilities, reconnaissance, as well as the ability to carry out precision strikes. Turkey is ranked 11th in the world as far as defense exports are concerned. And if you take a look at the top 100 companies, the top 100 defense companies in the world, 4 Turkish companies are right up there with regard to the ability of producing high quality technological products. So when we talk about drone technology, when you mentioned Anka 3 or a more refined version of Anka 3, we're looking at the technology which can not only carry out precision strikes, but also make sure that existential threats with regard to the PKK can be neutralized. You must have noticed with regard to PKK's operational capabilities, they have resorted to suicide bombing, but their kinetic operations have decreased significantly. And that clearly shows the immense amount of potential that Turkish drone technology actually has. So it's pretty much on par with the best in the world. Turkey has also joined a very elite technological club, which includes China, Russia, and the United States with regard to generation warfare. So I think it is a massive achievement. And heading into 2025, it clearly shows that Turkey is a drone production technology, as well as the drones that they have at their disposal, have immense amount of clout and have the ability to neutralize regional threats.
Mm-hmm. Suha, Kizilelma, translated meaning red apple, apple of Erdogan's eye, probably going to come online towards the end of the decade, maybe the beginning of the 2030s. Now, this isn't exactly a drone. It's an autonomous fighter jet, basically. When that comes online, what type of difference is it going to make for the Turkish armed forces?
So it's a pioneering unmanned combat aerial vehicle. It's a jet fighter, as you know, and it embodies several distinctive features and strategic advantages. One, as you mentioned also, that it's a jet-powered design, so it's equipped with a turbofan engine, giving it higher speeds and enhanced maneuverability compared to propeller-driven UAVs, but also stealth capabilities and, most importantly, carrier compatibility. So it can take off and land on TCG Anadolu, since it's engineered for operations from short runway aircraft carriers, enabling naval deployments without the catapult systems that features on some of the other type of aircraft carriers, as well as advanced avionics, and also the most important part of it, of course, is that it's endogenously developed. So it reflects Turkey's commitment to self-reliance in defense technology, reducing its dependence on foreign suppliers. The critical component, of course, here is the engine. So Bayraktar Technologies is in the midst of the process to develop its own engine for this aircraft, which is going to boost its operational capability and also export advantages, because this is one of the main features. And it wouldn't be a surprise to see Turkey's export reach $10 billion in the coming years, if not this year. So having said that, it's still not a replacement for a fifth gen, let alone a sixth gen manned aircraft such as Khan, MMU Khan, or F-35, because its operational range, like maximum speed, payload capacity, altitude, and its ability to engage in remote combat missions is still not battle proven or tested, let's say. So it will have to come into that stage. It will take a bit more time for it to mature, I would say. But it's an excellent bridge solution, a way for Turkey to jump ahead in that ladder of advanced technological capabilities, definitely.
Phar, I've had a couple opportunities to sit down and talk with the head of Baykar, Selçuk Bayraktar, and in both of those interviews, every time I've talked about him being a drone maker, he's always stressed, we're actually a technology company. And he said what sets us aside isn't the hardware, it's actually the software that we develop. How important is the software for Turkish drones? And also, when I've talked to military experts, they've stressed the use of electronic warfare as well, the development of their electronic warfare systems. They've stressed the doctrine that they've created with using their drones. And that's something that's come from a lot of experience of using drones, and very few countries more experienced than Turkey. How do you view those two comments?
Well, when it comes to any kind of military revolution, it's also important to bear in mind that it's actually a reflection of the political economy of the state. That's why the fact that Bayraktar actually refers to itself as a technology company. What I meant by the political economy of the state is that it's actually not easy to have an entity or a company the size and the sophistication of Bayraktar. It has to have the support and the industrial policy of the state, and they all have to get it right, both at the level of the state and also at the market. And it's not just market per se in Turkey, but also regionally and globally. So when somebody also refers to the importance of software, I think that person knows what he's saying and talking, but we have to keep in mind that the customization of the drone is extremely critical, because every war theater and every military operations differ from one form to the other.
Hamza, along with drones, obviously, Turkey's complementary sector to drones, whether it be micro munitions, smart munitions, they've really grown as well. How important was that horizontal and encompassing sector growth to be able to arm the drones, and how much of a game changer has that been?
Well, it's been absolutely critical. If you look at the importance of extremely important components which result in drones which have the efficacy, I think that basically, it relates to the wider, you could say, prism of Turkey's defense production and the military-industrial complex, which has really grown over the years. And I think when we talk about software, and we also talk about these components which are extremely important to make sure that drones have the efficacy and the ability to try and make sure that they can neutralize potential threats. That cannot happen if military-industrial complexes domestically, as well as you could say international cooperation. I mean, there was a reference to different exercises that Turkey has conducted with regional powers such as Saudi Arabia and Pakistan as well, and they've looked forward to the prospect of increased revenue for the military-industrial complexes. So I would actually view this in a wider prism of Turkey's defense production and export revenue, which has grown exponentially over the 5 years. And the Anka 3 and the latest forms of drone technology, it exemplifies that effort to try and make sure. Because when we talk about components, we talk about software, we talk about drones in general, without the requisite funds and without the requisite revenue or without the requisite thriving military-industrial complex, that cannot materialize. So I would actually answer that question by looking at the wider prism of Turkey's thriving defense industry, rather than solely focus on the growth of components, which is obviously interlinked.
Suha, I want to switch over now to fighter jets. And the Turkish defense industry's done a fairly good job over the past 2 decades trying to meet Turkey's needs. And before we talk about the fighter jet, I think the missing link actually is the engine. And that's been kind of the weak point for Turkey. Do you see Turkey finally developing the engine that it needs for its fighter jet, for its autonomous fighter jet, and it's not going to be dependent on foreign partners and foreign markets?
Yes, absolutely. And it's already in the process of doing so. And it's developed engines for several of its unmanned aircrafts, and will do so also for the Khan, the endogenously developed 5th generation fighter jet, the twin engine fighter jet, which will have better stealth features and improved aerodynamics even more so than F-35. And so what happens in aerospace technology is you don't design an engine for an aircraft. It usually works the opposite way. So you first have the engine and you design the aircraft around it, because that determines almost everything, from the aircraft's capability, durability, operational range, and everything. But I think Turkey had to necessarily resort to an alternative method here by building on its know-how, skill set, and doing it step by step, going up the ladder, not in just like a quantum jump, but driving and testing all these systems in tandem to basically have the all-round capability around both building, testing, operating engines, and different types of aircraft. So it's actually another an alternative method and a technological leadership of Turkey. That we see that's demonstrated here. So the engines, yes, they will come in, into service over time, and especially for the MMU Khan fighter jet, it will probably take us until about mid-2030s for it to become fully operational under an endogenous Turkish engine by the Turkish aerospace industries, because it's a lengthy and arduous process that requires a lot of experience. It's one of the most well-kept and hidden assets, I would say, of the military industry complex around the world. So none of the nations that have this capability would be keen to share it. So you have to necessarily build it from ground up. And it takes time and effort, which is quite normal. But Turkey is well on the way, and it's gained experience significantly over the course of the past 10 years with operating these type of engines and smaller aircrafts like Hürjet. And that will prove itself, over the next decade, I'm sure.
Phar, Suha says 2030s before we really see the Khan in action in the Turkish Air Force. Meanwhile, very dynamic region. A lot going on. You need a powerful Air Force. When you look at the Turkish inventory, a lot of aging F-16s, a lot of aging aircraft. Aside from that, Turkey is looking to modernize its F-16s, maybe even acquire new F-16s. It's been flirting around with Eurofighter Typhoon. Typhoon versus F-16, what's more attractive to you? Which way should Turkey go? Should Turkey buy both?
Well, Turkey should not only always consider the strength of both forms of aviation, but Turkey should also understand that as of last year, according to the research of CIPRI, all the defense expenditure all across the regions, the 5 major regions in the world have actually gone up. And the one that actually has gone up the most is Asia or Indo-Pacific. Now, that having been said, no one in Asia Pacific is interested in having a war. We are more interested in strengthening economic interdependence and strengthening our supply chain. Given that as a fact, we must always remember that all these planes, whether they are coming from Euro or any kind of NATO types, the key is deterrence and diplomacy. They go hand in hand. Whatever technological breakthrough that you achieve, ultimately, it's all about the state or the Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Foreign Affairs working hand in hand with the manufacturers and industry to try to put that message across that we have something extremely little and useful, and we do not want to go into war. Hence, my earlier explanation, it has to be customized according to the foreign policy objectives and the military tactics of each country or each buyer, if you may.
Hamzah, Turkey was removed from the F-35 program. It decided to double down on the speed of production and development for the Khan. Was that a blessing in disguise, or was it a huge missed opportunity for Turkey when we look at the performance of the F-35?
No, I wouldn't consider it to be a missed opportunity. I think it gave Turkey that sense that they had to invest increasingly in indigenous defense production. And I think that resulted in the indigenization of the Turkish defense products, which are now exportable and can generate immense amount of export revenue for Turkey to actually fuel its military-industrial complex. So I wouldn't consider it to be, a missed opportunity, but it's more a blessing in disguise. And we need to understand that Turkey, for a long period of time, has also witnessed a great amount of devaluation of its currency and economic freefall as well. And for a country's resilience, and it also applies to my country, Pakistan, as well. We've been going through immense amount of economic turmoil, but we've tried to make sure that our military-industrial complex remains robust and is indigenized to deal with indigenized threats. So I think when we talk about being expelled from the F-35, it results in greater importance attached to artificial intelligence, you could say stealth, reconnaissance, precision targeting. I think that's something that Turkey has really considered into. And moving towards 2030, when we would actually see the Khan aircraft being operationalized, I think that would be something that would be result in greater regional deterrence against existential threats, whether it's from, we talk about the ISKP in Afghanistan, which has branches in the Middle East at this point in time, or we talk about the PKK, which has resorted to suicide bombing instead of operating kinetically. So there's obviously a huge room for Turkey to invest indigenously, and that's exactly what has happened. If you take a look at the reports from CIPRI in 2023, or you take a look at Turkey's ability to become a primary importer as well as exporter of defense products, it's absolutely remarkable. So indigenization of technology is something that Turkey has achieved from, a slight setback, not a missed opportunity, but a slight setback by not being included in F-35.
Suha, we're running out of time, so I need a quick answer from you. Obviously, developing and manufacturing aircraft, very tough, but sustainability requires exports. Who's going to buy the Khan? Who's going to be partners for the Khan?
So probably obvious examples, potential short-term partners and customers would be Azerbaijan, Gulf countries, Pakistan, Turkic states of Central Asia. Those are the first candidates that come to my mind. And there is interest, as we've seen from Azerbaijan and Pakistan already, to join for co-production, co-development, and manufacturing of certain components. And from the Gulf countries, or financing and to be involved in this project. Perhaps in later stages, if not now, but certainly there is a wide market out there.
Thank you very much. Hamzah, Phar, Suha, great conversation. And that's all for this edition of Straight Talk with me, Yusuf Aram. If you got any comments, please share them with us on X at Straight Talk TRT. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.